Personnel Board meeting of November 20th, 2018. First on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Second on the agenda are the minutes from our last meeting, October 16th, 2018. Has everybody had a chance to read them? Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the Personnel Board meeting on October 16th, 2018.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Appointments and resignations.
You have another minute here.
Oh, reorganization.
23rd.
Oh. Reorganization is the next. This one? That's from the extra meeting?
Yes. No, hold on, wait a minute. Excuse me, reorganization.
Still have minutes
Yeah.
to do.
We had two sets of minutes for today.
Oh, okay, yes. Do I have a motion on the reorganization minutes?
No, it's not reorganization minutes, it's just, that was the meeting that we got
Yes,
together.
yes, that's the emergency meeting that we
Yes.
had. Yes, do I have,
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You
That
must
was,
have that in there somewhere.
yeah, I do. That was a, there it is, 2-minute meeting. Appointments and resignations. Last night, Joan and I met before the Board of Selectmen, and we've reorganized our board a little bit. Jim Dunn has some personal commitments that is going to take up quite a bit of his time and will not be available to attend quite a few meetings. So we've reorganized, and Jim has accepted the role of alternate member, and Joan Gardecki has accepted the role of a full member, and that was effective last night. Joan got sworn in this morning,
Yes.
and we'll have to check to see when the terms are up so they can get sworn into the proper dates. But it's been blessed by the town administrator as well as the Board of Selectmen, so that's effective immediately. Okay. Citizens' comments?
We don't have anything on here? Or is that's kind of the same?
That's,
Reorganization.
yes. None? What I would like to do is I would like to go right to item number 7, new business, because we have some people here this morning that would like to speak to us, and I don't want to hold them up to listen to us go through our entire meeting before we get to them. So first on the agenda is Pat Korch, which I assume Richard Clark will speak on your behalf for both of you.
Yes. Good morning. My name
Morning. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Richard Clark. I am a member of the Board of Trustees of the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library. And as I'm sure you're aware, our director, Karen Wall, left us on 11/9. I'm going to remember that date for a little while to come, I'm sure. And we are without a director at present. There are, I believe, 2 applications that have been received by the Personnel Board to date. And I'm hoping that you may be able to take action on those and make a recommendation or recommendations so that we might go forward in the search process. And would also, I'd like to see if I couldn't recruit a member of your board to be with us on that search process on our committee, if you would. I know that's a mouthful, so I'll let you kind of.
Well, that is normally how we would go about the interview processes. The candidates would interview with a member or several members maybe of the library committee and usually one member, at least one, maybe more of the personnel board, and we would interview together.
I do apologize. I have not gone through this search process before. Pat has the advantage in that she's done it 5 times, and speaking in her absence, I'm bringing a lot of ignorance to the table.
I would be more than happy to.
Okay, and I could be available for that also.
All righty?
Now, I got an email from Pat stating that you'd like to hold your interviews after Thanksgiving?
Yes, I think the date that she has in mind at present is the 29th,
Okay.
Which is a Thursday.
which would be a Thursday, yes.
That's fine, that works for me.
Plenty of time to work off the leftovers by then, hopefully.
You know what time?
2 p.m., 2 a.m., 2 p.m.
2 in the
I'm
afternoon?
sorry.
So 2 in the afternoon is when
In
you
the
put it.
afternoon, right.
Okay, and Carol, you'll make sure that everybody has copies of the resumes, so they have a chance to read them?
So at this time, you only have 2 candidates,
Yes.
and the application deadline has already occurred?
Well, we have only indicated preference would be given to candidates who applied by or before 11/9.
Okay.
So I think we're still open, if you would, to additional candidates, but it's been some time now since we received the second of the 2, so I'm not sure that there are any others that would be coming forth. We would welcome additional candidates.
Okay, what I would suggest is that we keep it open as long as up until possibly the 29th, because it would certainly be nice to have more than 2 candidates.
It certainly would, but I think in part, this may be an indication that there are a lot of jobs or that there aren't a lot of qualified candidates, one of the 2, either of which probably lends some urgency to the process in terms of our trying to make this
I think from
good decision, but a quick decision.
I think from previous interviews, when we interviewed for the youth librarian on both instances, there are not a lot of candidates who have the qualification of an MLS.
Right.
And so I think it makes the pool much smaller.
And we do see on the resumes that have been provided that both of the candidates fortunately do have that credential.
Okay. So Carol, you'll make sure everybody gets a copy of the resumes, all board members, not just the 2 that are going to do the interview, and we'll be more than glad to work with you.
All righty, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, item number 7C, Jennifer? Welcome, Greg.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jennifer Knoyer, for the Chairman of the Board of Health, and I'm here to let you know that my clerk has given her notice. So we are going to be looking to post the position and hopefully get someone additional in. Teresa has given her last day as of December 27th to hopefully try to get someone in and not have much time without the office not being covered.
Okay. You said December 27th?
Yes,
Okay, so that's a decent notice,
yes, I appreciate it.
for sure.
I was very
That should
appreciative.
help us. If you would be kind enough to work with Carol with the job posting,
Yes,
I would recommend that you post internally and externally at the same time to expedite the process. Whatever candidates you get, make sure that we get resumes as soon as possible, and then this board can review them, and we'll review them with you, and then see if we can hire somebody.
okay. Greg asked me just to do a wage comparison, just so that you would have it for information. And what my clerk is currently making is $12.48 an hour. We were hoping to be able to advertise the position at $13 an hour, because I'm not going to get a large amount of people applying at that hourly wage. I did, just so you can see what other towns.
How many hours is this position, Jen?
The position is currently 18 hours a week.
Board of Health.
It's open Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 to 4:30, and Thursdays, 12:30 to 7.
that?
Mondays and Tuesdays, 10 to 4:30, and Thursdays, 12:30 to 7.
Okay, and Greg, you've discussed this with Jennifer about posting the job at 13?
Yeah, I did. As Jen's pointed out, I think we have some challenges in terms of trying to find the right person. And Jen, was there an idea that we want to increase the hours of the position going forward too?
We would like
Which I
to,
don't necessarily fall under this board, but it's something you should be aware of.
we would definitely most like, the Board of Health is getting busier and busier with state regulations that are being passed down to the board, and inspection of food, nail salons, with the new cannabis regulations, everything that's coming in basically goes through the Board of Health, and it's difficult for the clerk to get 70% of what she needs done in the 18 hours a week. There's stuff that's constantly being rolled over and not getting taken care of.
Okay, what I would like you to do is whatever you want for your requests for this position, that you submit them to this board in writing,
Certainly.
so that we have a copy of it. The wage survey helps. And I will talk a little bit later about the wage survey, because Rose Smoker and I have met with the officials at Nichols College, and this will be very, very helpful
Okay.
with that project.
Okay.
So if you would be kind enough to do that, this board will certainly be willing to consider it in conjunction with the recommendations of the Personnel Director.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll go back to item number 6, old business. Anti-harassment policy.
Jim and Greg and I met last week and went over the policy, and we did all get, I think all of us got the updates that are being considered. They're not in here, that we got an email. No. Greg, do you know, did everybody get that email?
I don't remember.
I don't know, but I have, I can make
I
copies of it
remember
right
seeing
now.
that. I had it on my iPad, which is in my car.
Anyone need copies of it?
I do.
Yes, please.
All right,
Please.
hang on. Hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Here you go.
Okay, well, Carol's doing that. Why don't we skip down to employee handbook? Joan? And Carol, so we'll have to wait. And Carol's on the next one also.
You can do the wage chart.
Yeah, why don't we talk about the wage chart? It's actually the wage study, not necessarily the wage chart. What we have done is we have met with the officials at Nichols College, and the Personnel Board is going to be working right after the first of the year with Rachel McDonald, who will be doing the internal study of wages from all the surrounding towns, job descriptions, which will be available through Carol. This young lady will be available on Wednesdays, pretty much throughout the day. Rose will be working with her on Wednesdays. I will be seeing Rachel on Thursdays. Carol, she will be working
Thank you, Carol.
9 to 10:30 on Thursdays in your office when you're available on Thursdays. So whatever information she needs, we'll assist her in getting her that information. That information is confidential and classified. She knows she has to sign a confidentiality agreement. We will be reviewing periodically with Mary Trippett, who is her sponsor, to see the progress of this project. We will hope to have it wrapped up very early in the spring, so we can make a comparison of where our wages stand with other communities and towns. We do have some information we'll make available to her, such as the information we were just given. We have information from the Board of Assessors. Greg has some information. Probably before she starts, I would like to invite her in so that she can meet the Personnel Board and she can meet the other players in town hall, so she knows who the supervisors are. And I was very impressed with this young lady. She's very articulate, she's very smart. Very impressed with this young lady, and I think she'll do a very good job for us.
So do you need to make a recommendation for that? Should there be a motion on that?
I don't, yeah, we can make a
I
formal.
think that's action that's being taken by the board to do
Yes.
something
Well,
that is outside.
why don't we have a recommendation to, if somebody wants to make a
I'll make that motion to accept your recommendation of using Nichols College and Rachel McDonald as the person who will be doing the study for the Personnel Board.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I want to thank the board members who are going to be helping with this project, because we want this project to become a success. And I think it's important to the employees, I think it's important to directors and department heads to finally have our own study. And there's lots of information out there. I know, Carol, there's information from the Municipal Mass Association that we can get, which will help her. So this will start right after the holidays.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to that, in preparation for her coming and looking at the job descriptions, I've been going through them, making sure that we have one for every employee. Some of these haven't been updated since 2004. So if you would like, I can send the job descriptions to the various departments and ask for any updates prior to her coming, so that she's.
That'd be good.
Yes, please. I'd appreciate that. Okay, let's back up for a minute. Mary Beth, anti-harassment policy.
Yes, so Jim and Greg and I met last week. We have taken the policy that, I don't see a date on it of when it was last updated, but
2015?
2015, so changes were made to make some of the vague language more specific. It also notes the town administrator as the sexual harassment grievance officer, which was, it just said that the Board of Selectmen designates this officer, but this officer, but it didn't say who it was. And more detail with the process. So, if you have anything, it was emailed, I don't know if everybody got the email for a chance to review the changes.
I don't believe
I didn't get
I
this.
didn't get this,
No.
So,
but I will,
Peter, could I jump in?
yes, of
So, I
course.
mean, the most significant page, I'll just go through them very quickly. On the second page, under state law, board and committee members and volunteers are considered to be especially municipal employees, and they're subject to the same requirements for sexual harassment and prohibited conduct as anyone else. So we want to be clear that they are included within this policy, and they need to be on best behavior. On the third page, as Mary Beth has correctly pointed out, the town administrator is the sexual harassment officer. My name has been taken out because I'm not going to be here forever. The initial policy was vague in terms of the time frame for filing complaints. What we wanted to do was tighten that up in terms of saying that a complaint needed to be filed proximate to when the occurrence occurred, because we've seen too many instances where things go on for a period of many years, recollections get fuzzy, facts get fuzzy, things like that. So we felt as though there was some necessity to want to tighten up the time frame for filing of complaints. We also will provide a form, which is something that needs to be worked on, a standard form for filing of complaints. That the findings will be documented in writing. I think that's important. I think for some reason, there was a note in here that the complaint would be verbally transmitted, and it doesn't seem that that makes any sense nowadays. We want to make sure that complaints are addressed in writing, and a copy is placed in the employee's personnel file. On the fourth page, the decision as and I guess this is probably one of the major changes concerning policy. Originally, the sexual harassment officer's decision seemed to be binding, and the avenues of appeal would be through Mass Commission on Discrimination. However, we have a personnel bylaw, and the personnel bylaw says that you're part of the grievance process. So what we wanted to do, and this is something you can decide whether you want it or don't want it, is that the parties may appeal the sexual harassment grievance officer, my decision, to the personnel board in accordance with the town's grievance procedure. Grievance language in any collective bargaining agreement shall supersede this section. So you don't hear grievances from union employees, you won't hear any grievances on union employees related to sexual harassment. Those follow a separate path through the Board of Selectmen. But we felt as though it was important to note that you're part of that process. And then lastly, the only other change that we'd make, and it's not here, is on the final paragraph under state and federal agencies, not agents, agencies. We want to delete the last three sentences. So the language that would be deleted would be, they may, a complaint must be filed within 6 months. A complaint filed under federal law should be filed within 180 days, but under certain circumstances, federal complaint will be filed within 30 days. We want to take out that language. We don't control what the state and federal government do. They adopt rules and regulations, changing timeframes all the time. And we want to make sure that we don't necessarily restrict someone's ability to file an appeal based upon some erroneous language that may be in an old policy. So we figure we take it out, we give the employee the proper contacts, and we give him and her the opportunity to go and pursue it.
Okay.
Okay.
The only question I have in looking at this is the first page. So it does not make, the town also a zero tolerance.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit into the sentence, so I agree with you, but I think it has to be a sentence that makes sense. The town also a zero tolerance, sexual or other, I think if we say the town also maintains a zero tolerance concerning sexual or other harassment by an applicant would be an appropriate way to phrase it.
A zero tolerance policy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and also, I believe we were just gonna call this a harassment policy and not necessarily just a sexual harassment policy. We're gonna change the name of this to include all kinds of harassment.
Except in the delineation, let's see, verbal comments, sexual nature, sexual, it pretty much just deals with sexuality.
Okay,
So I think it has to probably maintain that language.
okay, I'm okay with that. Mary Beth, you're gonna continue to update this and give us a final,
Yeah.
you and Greg?
yeah,
We'll have
I'll
this
type
put
it up.
together.
We met on it on Thursday or Friday of last week. I went to drop in the changes. If you have a Word version of it, Carol, I'd appreciate it, because I don't have a Word version, so I couldn't edit it. That's why you see the chicken scratch that you reviewed
Okay.
today.
All right. So Carol, you'll get us a copy of the edited version? Okay.
And then
Anything
we'll
else?
act on it at the next meeting? Is that what you're calling for action?
Yes, please.
All right.
I will give you,
So do you want a motion to accept these changes?
Yes, please.
I'll make that motion that we accept the changes to the sexual harassment policy as developed by Mary Beth and Mr. Balcones. It was then, and someone else?
Jim Dunn.
Jim Dunn.
And Jim Dunn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, employee handbook. Rose and Carol?
And Joan?
And Joan?
Rose and I came up with some changes that we think should be in the employee handbook, and I did give a package, information out at the last meeting. However, it's not in this package. I did bring mine, but I really think you need an employee handbook to go by section. If you want to table it to the next meeting.
I'd like to table that, and I'd like to get a copy of that, so I probably have it somewhere at home, but I'd like, Carol, if you get me another copy of that, I want to make sure we'll table that to our next meeting. And hopefully Rose will be here.
Carol, did you have anything to add?
What I've been doing is all of the policies that I've been finding that have been approved, I'm just putting on the back of the employee handbook. So like the open door policy, any policy that has to deal with employees, I've been tacking that onto the back of the employee handbook. So there'll be a section of just all policies.
Yeah,
That would be good.
yep, good.
Because a lot of them have signature pages too, for the employees to.
Some do and some don't, yeah. Like the
Domestic
computer
violence.
usage and so forth.
Okay. Next, Carol, employee database?
Yes, I did, pass out a copy of, some of the information that, we'll be capturing. I didn't know if we really need to have, emergency contact information or not. That's in there. Also, I've taken out the, date of birth. When I tried to print the updated version on the computer in the personnel room, Windows was doing an update, and it was at 15%, so it's gonna take a while before it's updated. So I just hopped over to conservation where I had a copy I had initially started working on. So this is the information. I'll just go through it. It's the first and last name, the address, date of birth is not in there, we don't need that. The emergency contact name and phone number, the hire date for that particular person, the department they're working in, the position that they hold, the grade or step, and salary, hourly. This also includes volunteer stipend. So there's a drop-down list, and I can just click on it, and if it's a stipend position, it will show accordingly. The hourly rate that they're working, the number of hours, the weekly and yearly salary, so that when we do another salary chart, we can just pull that information from here. Then over to the right, you'll see orientation. All of these on the right have a check box. It's either yes or no. So if there's a check box, that means it's been done. The employee handbook, and also what's not showing on this page because of the way that it printed, the actual dates of when these events occurred. So under annual sexual harassment sign, there'll be a check mark. Once everyone's signed that form, then the following year, that information will be taken out and they can put in a new date. And so far, we have over 90% of the sexual harassment forms back. Last time we talked, it was like about 20, so we've gotten a lot back. And I've also included, and I mentioned it in the harassment policy as well, that boards and committees, volunteers should also sign this. So I've been going back to the various boards and committees to make sure that volunteers sign this as well. So the town is protected on all levels.
Okay.
Now, are these recent, well, you're just putting this together, we never really had any place to keep track of the performance appraisals, if they were put in or not. So this is I like that addition on here.
Yeah, I like that addition also, and I happen to like this because it can be updated very quickly. I know we have step and grade charts and all this, but they're outdated, and this type of system you can update almost automatically. It's got all the information that's needed. This became a little bit important because I believe the town auditors asked about some information about this. So that reinforced that this is something that needs to be done. I very much like to have this. You could almost at least get Dudley's history of an employee, of where they stand, but good job. I appreciate that.
I'd like to question, what does domestic violence actually mean? Do you have a policy on domestic violence in the town that the employees have to sign off on? All right, thank you.
Okay. All set with that, Carol?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Carol.
I've already talked a little bit about the wage study. Let's go down to item D, merit increase. Let's talk about that a little bit. I believe, Greg, we discussed very briefly about merit increases, that we need to have a standard procedure and a standard policy.
Yep.
Rather than jump all over the map and have each department come before this board and say, I want $20 for my employee, and somebody else says, I want $25 for my employee, that we need to have a standard policy for merit increases.
Peter, I agree. I'm working on that. We'll get that to you in the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Confidentiality agreement. That's just for general conversation, that when we have agreements with employees, for example, a gentleman by the name of Jason is working with the water department on doing some surveys for them. He had to sign a confidentiality agreement. Rachel McDonald will have to sign one with us, and that is binding, that whatever information they see is to stay in town hall and not to be discussed or taken from the personnel office. I explained to both interns that when they look at documents in the personnel office, it is not to be removed from town hall. They can work with their computer with that information, but they're not to take it back to Nichols College. They're not to take it home. That kind of information is confidential and stays in town hall. Even us as members cannot take personal folders home from the personnel office. So we need to make sure that that's strictly enforced. Item number F, performance appraisal bylaw. Greg, can you give us a little guidance on this one?
I think it should probably tie in with the work on the merit increases. I'm not sure whether we're looking to change the performance appraisal bylaw. I don't think that there really needs to be any changes to what we're doing right now, Peter. I feel as though the personnel appraisal system works here, performance appraisal system works here, so help me in terms of what changes you might be looking for.
Okay, I'm not necessarily going to recommend to the board that we make changes. I'm more looking to make sure that the performance appraisal system is followed. For example, each employee has received their self-performance evaluation forms. Their supervisors have received their copies. They are to be turned into us end of November, Carol?
So the question is, have they been turned in already?
Some
Any?
have.
Some have.
Some have. I know we have 2 from the library that are just finished their 6 months performance. We do have those, but that's important that they come in on time, and we need to stick to that. That is the process for handing out and deciding merit increases.
Exactly.
It is not the process that somebody comes before us and decides, well, I want to give this person a $6 an hour raise, or I want to give this one a 2% raise or 3%. This is the process for merit increases. After those reviews are conducted, they are, the performance appraisal committee will review every single one of them. That committee consists of the director of personnel, 1 or 2 members, usually 2 members of the personnel board, as well as a member of the board of selectmen. That is when the decisions are made on COLAs, cost of living increases, and merit increases.
I would also like to suggest also that we are certain that everybody uses the same form, because we have had evaluations done on different forms, old forms as compared to new forms, and that people be encouraged to, everybody needs improvement, and so somebody that just hits all of the extremes of performance, either as the evaluator or the evaluatee, are not honestly looking at themselves, and so it's very difficult. Peter and I have had that discussion. Everybody, at some point in their lives, and in their work lives, have areas that need to be improved. There are always, and particularly in the state, new policies, new programs that have to be learned, and that you don't have that mastery of it immediately, and those are needs, areas of improvement. It's very hard for us, I think, when we've been on a committee, to think that everybody is doing that kind of performance all the time. So, more importantly, is that we all have the same forms, and then that it's a true reflection of what you're doing or what you see somebody doing in the workplace. So it's been somewhat of a frustration.
What I'm going to do this year, there are some supervisors that consistently rate all their employees or their employee distinguished or outstanding throughout the whole performance appraisal, year after year after year after year. This year, I'm going to recommend to the board that if I see a performance appraisal like that, I'm going to submit it back to the supervisor for reevaluation. And that's never been done before.
That would be a good idea, because we've always had a problem with that.
Yes. So that's my intention. If the board supports that,
Yeah.
somebody would like to make a motion to make that recommendation, or Greg, do we just have
I don't know that you
to
need.
keep it as a recommendation? We don't need a motion on that, do we?
No.
No, okay. Thank you.
So so Carol, would you also send a reminder out to everybody that their evaluations, if they have not come in, are due at the end of this month, and so that they should be in a timely fashion, so that we can undergo the process of reviewing them and making the recommendations for COLA or for merit?
That's correct. And this is very important, because this is in coordination with the budget process and the budget season. So people that are making recommendations or requests, we have to make sure that there's money available. And they have to be realistic, because the performance appraisals do form in line and are in conjunction with the budget process. And that is done in the spring. It is not done in the fall. It's not done at fall town meeting. It's done in the spring. Okay, item number 8. Any other business? Great.
Peter, thank you. So the Highway Department management study is due at the end of this month, and I'm expecting that it'll make some pretty detailed recommendations of the organizational structure of the highway, water, and sewer departments. All of it is in the name of cost effectiveness, accountability, and efficiency. Some of these things may require town meeting action if the selectmen agree. So the report is being submitted to the Board of Selectmen. It'll outline things to improve those departments. Some may or may not involve staffing issues, which you will have to become involved with. Some of them may involve changing bylaws in terms of duties and responsibilities and who reports to who. So just kind of keep in mind that that's out there. And although you're not formally part of the report at this point, I'm going to guess that at some point it will be forwarded to you, and you'll be invited in to have a conversation with the selectmen about these ideas. Comments on that at all?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and
And that's moving along fairly smoothly.
without any problems at this point. It's moving along,
Excellent.
and like I said, the consultant report is due in the end of the month.
Very good.
I may have caught that I'm going to be leaving and retiring in about 6 months. And the interest to your committee is that there will likely be changes to the job description. So, and the reason for those changes have to do with integrating the changes that were approved at town meeting related to the town administrator bylaw, and also as it relates to the town administrator wearing the hat as personnel director. Both of those are fairly significant. So those are things we need to be aware of. At this point, I would expect that the next steps that the selectmen will take is they will review and approve a calendar for hiring my successor. And I don't think they're going to use a consultant. That has already been used. They've already made that statement at a public meeting. When I was hired back in 2014, they did not use a consultant to hire the TA, and I would expect that the process will be similar to that. And to the extent you guys were involved in that process, I'd expect you to be involved again.
It's okay. I'm aware of the town administrator's bylaw. I support it personally, because I think it's necessarily the personnel board forever has just kind of acted on its own and didn't get a whole lot of guidance from previous administrators or the Board of Selectmen, so I think it's a good move that we have, this board works in conjunction with the town administrator, so that we're all going in the same direction. And there's no misunderstanding of what our responsibilities are, being integrated with the Director of Personnel. So I'm okay with that, personally.
Mr. Fox, just I think it absolutely having the town administrator personnel director is really critical in terms of tightening up the performance appraisal process and the merit review process, because really things shouldn't even come before you unless they've been approved. The personnel director's had a conversation with that department head and feels that those changes should come before you. It really should be the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I think that's important, and that'll make the merit increase process a lot smoother, rather than individuals just coming before this board with their wish list. So you're all well aware of that. I have turned requests down on some people coming before this board asking for more money for their people until it's been approved by the administrator. So I think that's kind of important.
Thank you. That's it. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I wish you the best,
Thank you.
and I hope that you find something to do that feeds into your passions.
Yeah, this 36 years in this field has been a long time.
So
Very
I wish you personally the
Thank you.
best.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to trying something different.
I want to compliment Greg, because he's, in my opinion, done an absolute outstanding job for the town of Dudley. He is also an excellent individual to work with. He's reasonable, he's understanding, he's compassionate. He's had some tough issues on his plate, for sure. I've noticed that his skin has grown 3 inches thicker in the last couple of years.
It has.
And maybe when he retires, he can put some kind of hand lotion or something and soften it up a little bit. But
Remove the target off his back.
move the target off his back. But I know I have had just a wonderful experience with Greg.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, item number 9. Next meeting is, as always, the third Tuesday of December. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but we all know it's the third Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
4, 5, 6, 13, 20, I think.
20th.
I think.
I would also like to say,
Today is the 20th.
18th.
18th, okay.
18th. Tuesday, December 18th.
Oh, that's right, because Christmas is a Tuesday.
Yep. I want to just take a minute to thank the board members for all the hard work they've been doing on a lot of these assignments that have been given to them. We've got a lot going on. We have a full plate of work ahead of us. I believe we're certainly going in the right direction, but I want to thank all the board members for all their hard work. And I also want to wish every single one of you a happy Thanksgiving, to you and your families.
And you as well?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.